Hey everyone. There's been a huge rise in fighting sports recently, as I've noticed, mainly coming from like events from celebrities who are like never really having fighting experience, but they have one person who they really fucking hate. In particular, boxing fights have been popular in this aspect because it's a great way to like bring people's attention to a fight. Because when people see two people having an argument or whatever, when they dislike each other, the most exciting thing to see happen next is them fighting. And even if the two people don't really hate each other, them fighting in an event would still be like a great way to like bring attention to their name. And it's quite easy to do because it's not meant to be like a professional fight where you have to be really good at it. It can just be like dumb and simple. Especially because most people haven't really done boxing before in their life, apart from like the training they take leading up to the fight. Essentially, it's kind of like a white collar fight where people don't really want to see like the best skills possible in the world. They just want to see two people beat the shit out of each other. And when you think about it, it really is kind of dumb because it's kind of like a way to like prove who's right or like who's the better person, like regardless of like what the argument was. So it's just a brainless way to like resolve a conflict. And someone big has actually taken this approach to someone else, someone so big that you would never expect them to actually do it. The person I'm talking about is Elon Musk, who challenged Mark Zuckerberg to a cage fight from just being spurred on by a random person on Twitter. This began in a tweet talking about like Meta's new project, which was meant to be a social media app that was meant to like rival Twitter, which was rumored to have like the really dumb name of Threads, which I really hope isn't actually gonna be like the final name, because it's just, for some reason I just hate it. Maybe because it's just like a rip off like Twitter Threads, maybe. Then later on that same tweet, they mentioned how like the chief product officer, Chris Cox, who said like they were intending on making a platform that was sanely run. Of course, this was talking about like how when Elon Musk bought Twitter and people like gave him a lot of hate because like he was running the platform to the ground. And Elon Musk replied by saying like everyone would be like under Mark Zuckerberg's thumb with like no other options as social media apps, which is like kind of like saying like he doesn't really believe like it's gonna go anywhere. And then to that reply, someone joked about like him being helpful because like he knows jujutsu, so he's trying to make him angry. And that's what most interactions end at, which is like a simple joke. But Elon Musk actually replied back saying like he'd be happy to have a cage fight with him. This was like a completely random reply because like the guy who made like the jujutsu joke clearly meant the joke, and I wasn't like directing him to like actually fight him. However, if you've seen Elon Musk tweets, he really posts like random shit that doesn't make any sense, especially stuff like that isn't even funny. So him saying he'd be happy to fight him was sort of like a spur of the moment where like just did randomly like most of his tweets. But what took it to another level is when Mark Zuckerberg actually screenshotted that reply on his Instagram story and put the caption "send me location," and that catchphrase is famous in the UFC community, basically saying like he was happy to fight him as well. What makes it so insane to me is the two people involved, because they're mainly known for being CEOs of like massive companies, so big like they almost feel like larger than life, which is why it feels so weird to see them do something so out of character like fighting, especially because like they're not really well known for the martial arts skill. But that isn't just like one of them hasn't had experience, because Mark actually has been doing BJJ for quite a while now, because back in 2020 he took it up as like replacement for running during the lockdown, and he actually has been passionate for it. Not only are there videos of him training with his coach, but he also had like 3 amateur fights with him winning 2 of them, and he's won gold and silver medals in his first BJJ tournament. So he has had actual like key experience before in his life, as opposed to like other influenced fighters who just like agree to have to fight despite the fact they haven't really done much training before in their life. In terms of the video of him sparring, you can comment on like his flaws and like what he can improve, but that still shows like how passionate he is about the sport and like how dedicated he is to it. You also have to consider the fact how well prepared he is for an MMA fight, because BJJ is one of the most useful martial arts you have in that kind of fight, because most great fighters have really good grappling skills. So if he goes up against someone who doesn't really have like a lot of grappling skills, he could easily beat them, because like how difficult it would be to beat someone at that kind of area. If you've never expected Mark to be like this passionate about martial arts, I'm not really surprised, because he's shown he could be like dedicated to a skill if he's interested in it. For example, in the past he used his time to learn Mandarin, one of the hardest languages to learn, as well as wearing a tie every day for a whole year. But by far one of the most hardcore ones he did is only eating meat he killed with a bow and arrow back in 2011. I get the desire to like only eat food like you worked for to make you more grateful, but if you're like a millionaire where the price of food means nothing to you, it almost feels like a joke for you to go out of your way and just hunt animals, compared to other people who can only hunt because of like how remote they live, with that being the only way to like get food. But anyways, I want to talk about Elon, because he's kind of like the opposite, where he's only like a little bit of training in like karate, judo and taekwondo as a kid, but doing martial arts as a kid isn't really helpful, because like that was such a long time ago. By now he's probably like forgotten like what he used to learn. The only factor that could help him in this fight would probably be his size and weight, with him being around 180 and 200 pounds, being 6'1", and Mark being around 150 150 pounds, being 5'7". So he definitely had like the upper hand in like the height and weight. And that kind of like huge size difference is only the kind of difference you would see in like a celebrity fight like this, where like it would be allowed because like it's not a professional fight. And he was definitely aware of this because he even made a joke where he has like a special move called the Walrus, which is like force on his opponent, which might honestly work because he's just built like a fridge and all that weight would actually help. But physical size can only take you so far, especially because like BJ specializes in like taking down opponents bigger than you. So people who are saying like Elon will win just because of the size don't really seem to know like how little he can actually do. And as you mentioned, the huge age difference with Mark being 39 and Elon being 51, so that's like huge 12-year difference. And even though 39 is not the best age to be like fighting at, 51 is even way worse, where even like physical activity can be really hard. So realistically, I don't really see Elon being able to keep up after the first round while he would just be tired. But of course, the most crucial thing in a fight is training beforehand. And I actually read an article about this where even though it was interesting, I don't really like 100% agree with it. In the article, they talked about how they have the benefit of being able to pay for really good training that can actually help them, using Logan Paul's boxing training as an example. Of course, training plays a huge role in preparing for a fight, but if you're just training out of nowhere all of a sudden just for a fight, it won't be easy to get into just like of how intense it is. But since most people already know about Mark's prior experience with fighting, a lot of people are actually offering Elon training because they know like he's the one with like the least amount of experience. And I hate the fact that I brought up in my past videos a lot, but one of those people is Andrew Tate, who's had a lot of kickboxing fights in the past before. However, from his tweet, he kind of makes it sound like revenge for like being banned on Facebook and Instagram, making it sound like a clan war. Not only is it a bit arrogant, I think like you can take this random person like tell him you're an actual fighter, but it's also just dumb considering the fact like the huge distance between them with Tate being in Romania. And you mentioned the fact that he was arrested as well, so he might even like be able to fly out the country because he has to like wait and complete a trial, which by then the fight will already be over. The only person who could like potentially teach him and make him really good, and who even surprised me at the fact that he was offering him, was a UFC champion GSP, who would be a really good trainer for him. Not only is GSP best on karate, a martial like Elon did a little bit for when he was a kid, but he also has some really good MMA skills that could really help him in training. And since GSP lives in Canada, it would be way easier for one of them to like travel to them and train with him. Regardless of how well a trainer you could pay to coach you, having an MMA legend like him would be an incredible help, where you could actually teach him some really good skills. One thing I want to say is I'm actually glad like Mark and Elon have actually taken the time to set this up, talking for the people about it, because like most of the celebrities will like, only like keep repeating about it, they'll fight someone, but behind the scenes they won't really take the time to set it up, or they have a reason to not be able to, like being busy, so they'll just keep repeating online about how they're gonna fight him eventually just to like keep people interested. But for this fight, they're both completely down to actually like set it up, with one important figure being involved with it, with that being Dana White. In an interview with TMZ Sports, he mentioned like how he talked with both of them and they were both adamant about like setting up the fight, and you can see in his face how excited he is for it.
Can we be excited about this? Is there a possibility this is really going to happen?
Well, just to give some clarification. So what he said is Mark Zuckerberg responded with "send me location," which is something that Khabib Nurmagomedov says when people challenge him. So that was what "send me location" meant. And I was talking to both Elon and Mark last night. Both guys are absolutely dead serious about this.
Now, wait. Tell us why you say that.
Because they both said, yeah, we'll do it. They both want to do it. Mark Zuckerberg hit me up first and said, is he serious? And I said, I don't know. Let me ask him. I asked him and he said, yeah, I'm dead serious. Obviously and I agree with you, Harvey, this would be the biggest fight ever in the history of the world. Bigger than anything that's ever been done. It would break all pay-per-view records. These guys would raise, hundreds of millions of dollars for charity. And, you don't have to be a fight fan to be interested in this fight. Everybody would want to see it.
Of course, like you said, this fight might actually be one of the biggest in history, because unlike other famous fights, Elon and Mark's name is so big that at this point everyone knows who they are, regardless like if they fight or not. Therefore, you don't really need to be like an MMA fan to be interested in this fight, because it just feels so impossible to believe like this is actually happening, but it's still like such a huge opportunity that you can't help but watch it. Not to mention the fact like a large majority don't really like these two people, so all they really want to see is just them beating the shit out of each other. So I don't blame Dana White for being excited for this, because like this is a huge event that could bring like a lot of attention to the UFC, simply because of like how big their names are. The event was also generate like a lot of revenue for charity, so at least it's good to see like there's one positive aspect from the fight apart from it being entertaining. So all in all, it does seem like this fight is guaranteed to happen, simply for like Dana White's association, and he's so excited for this, like he even made a shirt just showing like he's clearly like putting a lot of effort into this. And a lot of people are into this fight simply because of like how bizarre it is, with some people betting on Elon, some people are betting on Mark. and then some people just wanting to see it happen. I've seen a few people joke about like how Elon will lose because Mark will turn into a lizard when the fight begins, which I admit is kind of funny. And I will say, I would love to see Joe Rogan be the commentator for that fight, simply because like, just from the fact like it's already like a weird matchup, you might as well make it weirder by adding Joe Rogan to it. And he probably would be confused by it, but also be like interested in it just like everyone else. And to be honest, so will I, because you so rarely get to see true people lose from so out of character like this. Like this is something that if you told someone who didn't really like, know about it, they'd probably be saying that you were joking, which is why it's so bizarre to believe it's actually happening. So I am actually excited to see like what's gonna happen. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.